Hi, and welcome back. We're on episode 4. And so I think today we're going to do a recap. Is that what you were thinking about doing?
My dear Isabella, we're going to do a quick recap about what happened in our episode number 3.
Okay.
As the audience may remember, we basically talked about the birth of Yeshua and the long journey to Egypt.
Right.
And the journey to the Temple of Hathors, and then to the city of Alexandria, that basically occupied the first 5 years of his life.
He had a full life already.
Yes. So during that stay, in the Temple of Hathor, he was basically recognized as an Avshtara, an avatar.
Right.
And then during his training in Alexandria, he was basically given to multiple teachers, and he learned about the cycles of life, the cycles of nature, how nature reproduces itself and so forth, and the cycles of humans, how humans reproduce themselves, how they are born.
All this by the age of 5.
All this
Wow.
by the age of 5, yeah.
Okay.
He also learned about the sacred words and the magic spells.
Oh, what do you mean by magic spells?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Akashic Memories didn't give us any
They
details.
didn't give us
about,
any
no.
details on that, but good magic. You hear magic and people always go into the,
yes, positive
but
magic,
I'm sure it was
You have a very good point, yeah.
Yes.
He learned about prayers. He learned about some methods to stay awake all night long, because there are certain rituals and certain prayers that will require you basically to not fall asleep.
Right.
So they taught all these techniques to a child of 5 years old, or even less.
I'm sure he came ready, right?
Yeah.
For all of that.
So
I have a
definitely,
feeling.
yeah. He also learned how to create balms, creams, perfumes, incenses, and we talked about that, how those can be useful to elevate your vibration levels
Your
and take you to
consciousness. Oh, yeah, definitely.
and take you to higher planes. And finally, also, he learned how to speak to the stars and to the universe.
Oh.
Yeah. So, after all this, basically, they decided to return to Galilee, to his village where he was born and where his parents are living.
And so what happened after that?
So when he returns, as I mentioned in the previous installment, he finds the nature extremely beautiful, I mean, after living in the torrid heat of
Right.
Egypt,
Right.
and basically seeing just the sand and a flat land all around
Yeah,
him.
he was happy to see some trees.
Yeah,
And
he was absolutely marveled, and enjoy, when he saw all these trees, the white flowers,
right.
the rivers, the brooks, and I'm sure that, we know that the temperature in the country of Israel today, around the Mediterranean basin, is one of the most beautiful and most desirable weather you can find on the planet.
It's a beautiful piece of real estate.
Yes, it is.
Unfortunately, things are happening, but we won't go there.
So when he returned to Galilee, basically he returns with 2 of his older brothers, his mother and father. All the other protagonists have basically left before that. And when he returns to the village, he realized that his mother is the object of veneration and adoration.
Oh.
Everybody comes and basically put a piece of fabric or a veil so she doesn't have to walk on the dirt.
Oh.
Yeah. They start incensing, treating her feet, bowing in front of her. Obviously, the word has been going around.
The word got around.
Yes.
Yeah. The Messiah has been
Messiah
born.
has been born, and she's the one who basically,
Birthed him.
Yeah. So she's
That's
absolutely.
so nice.
Yeah.
I think all women should be treated that way
I
with a
agree
child.
with you. But the interesting part is that everybody in the villages does it, except 3 or 4 women.
Oh.
They're probably being jealous.
Oh.
And those are the women who probably said, that there was something wrong with the date of the wedding
they were probably,
and the delivery. Yes.
The gay counters.
So-
You see.
So
there's always some in the village.
exactly. So wherever she goes, she's sprayed with perfumed waters.
Wow.
People are giving her flowers,
That's
or
so beautiful.
yeah, it's really beautiful.
She deserves it.
To a point where Yeshua, being five and a half, and having always been the center of attention,
Yeah.
does not exactly understand that. I mean, he's very happy for his mother, but
Right.
he said, "Oh wow, what a change
Yeah.
between the way I was treated in Egypt,
Right.
where I was like a little king, and here suddenly where my mother is getting all the attention."
I'm
So-
sure he grows out of that.
Yeah, of course, he understands very well, yeah. So basically, after a few days, when everybody has been resting from the long journey, they have a big meeting on the village square. And the way they do it, they sit around a table, or they sit around a rug, on a rug, and they share some hot with milk and honey. I mean, it's
okay.
the traditional Essenian kind of
okay.
appetizers, that they will share with everybody
Okay.
before starting to eat. And then they start talking about Yeshua a lot, I mean, obviously he's the point of interrogations. And
Right.
so they talk so much about him that Yeshua starts getting tired of it. And, being a kid of 5.5 years old, he decides to go to the countryside.
By himself.
Yeah, by himself.
Out of here.
Out
Yeah.
of here, yeah. I don't want to hear anything, this is too much, and I don't know what they are talking about. And
Right.
because they are trying to understand if he's really an avatar,
Right.
as indicated by the...
And he already knows he is, and he's like, okay.
Exactly.
I think I'll go let them figure it out.
So he goes into the countryside. I mean, he loves the countryside, and it's very clear about... and again, as you may remember, the Akashic memories are done through his eyes,
Right.
through his feelings, through his senses, right?
Right.
So everything is described when he basically marvels with the flowers. He sees a bee. He talks to the bees and to the insects. He's really because all the kind of things that he couldn't see in Egypt, right?
Right.
And to the point that he's even picking up some flowers and making a bouquet for his mother.
Aw.
Yeah. So when he comes back, he gives the bouquet to his mother, and she's very happy. So a few days later, there is another meeting with again I would say the elders of the village. The elders and the most advanced people within the Essenian Fraternity. And at that meeting, Yeshua is of course invited, but also his father and Miriam, his mother. So his mother is attending, and because she's a woman, and normally women do not attend to these kind of
Right.
meetings, she has a veil covering her entirely, right?
I don't want to say what I want to say, but I just feel like, okay, if she's covered, then she's not really there, right?
Yeah, well,
I'm
maybe.
sorry. I'm trying to be funny.
Yeah.
It's something that kind of
But,
is just,
I mean,
yeah.
those people are
I know that was the
spiritually
time.
advanced, but
Yeah.
this was their tradition.
Still,
So,
yeah.
so the head of this meeting is the Zera, and we will talk about him a little bit more later on. Is basically the eldest, of the Essenian Fraternity, and he's kind of the guy in charge of the village and the spiritual development and of the village. So he starts grilling young Yeshua, with a lot of questions. And Yeshua responds in a way that Zera finds very provoking. And, a little bit outside of what the tradition should be.
Okay.
So he has some reserves about Yeshua, and he finds him very, very mature for his age, of course.
Okay, right, yeah.
Because, I mean, at one point, Zera asked him, what is the truth? Is it true that you are an avatar? And 5 years old, or 5.5 years old, Yeshua responds, Zera, what is the truth? What is the true nature of truth? So he tries to get all these people into philosophical discussions,
Right.
which are basically puzzling them.
Right.
You know?
You're right. Well, maybe he is the avatar.
Yeah. So they are literally shocked, you know. And at one point, the discussion is becoming so hot, that Yusuf, the father, who is sitting next to Yeshua, is actually putting his hands on the legs of Yeshua and intiming him, telling him, okay,
Settle down.
settle down, stop it, you're going to irritate everybody in the village.
Yeah, he's probably afraid that other words will get out.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So the father tries to calm him. And, Yeshua, as a 5.5 years old kid, basically decides to leave the room. He said, okay, well, those people are not really willing to discuss or participate with me. So I'm going to go and try to play with other kids of my age,
Right.
And that's what he does. So, of course, in the village, he tries to play with some of the kids, but he feels really different. And he is different.
Right.
I mean, he has never been raised like a normal human being,
Right. A normal child.
A normal child,
Right.
I mean, he never participated into any of the activities in the villages, never played with other kids.
But it's hard because it almost seems like he's a small child, but he has an adult mind.
He has more
Right.
than an adult mind.
So it's
He has
really hard for him and
he
hard
has
for
a
people
divine mind.
and hard for people to witness too. It's
Exactly.
like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
They just cannot fathom him, and really understands his personality. Yeah. And so he goes into the countryside, and that's really his escape. He loves to go to do that and be with himself, because he's also a very lonely kid, and you have to be, because he's constantly in connection with what he calls his father, our
Right.
God. So he's constantly praying, and he needs the contact with nature to communicate with
Right.
God, because
Right.
for him, God is in nature.
Right.
It is everywhere. It is in the trees, it is in the birds, it is in the water
Bugs,
flowing in the country.
everything.
Yeah, this is for him, this is the creation, right? And so he meets Simon, and again, Simon is probably Simon is slightly older than Yeshua, probably a couple of years older, but they get along pretty well. And again, for a reminder for our audience, Simon is a previous incarnation of Daniel Meroy, the author of all these
this
books.
book. Yeah.
So I think it's important to know that. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I will say it again. And it's probably because of that close connection between Yeshua and Simon that Daniel has been allowed to tap and read
Yeah.
the Akashic memories of Jesus.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was definitely gifted that.
So when he goes back to the village, he sees his mother talking with another young lady, and they seem to be, going along very well and everything. So he's wondering, who is that? He asks his mother, who is that young lady? And Miriam tells him, oh, she's one of your sister.
Oh.
Basically, she's a daughter of Yusuf from his first marriage.
Oh, okay.
So we knew he had 4 sons,
Right, right.
4 boys, but he also had a daughter as well.
Okay.
So 5 kids from the previous
Wow.
marriage. Yeah.
Okay.
And Yeshua discovers something else. He looks at Miriam, his mother, and says, you have a round belly. So she's pregnant again.
Oh.
And Miriam explained to Yeshua, because Yeshua is not stupid. I mean, he has been trained to the cycles of nature and the cycles of reproduction and how reproduction works in human beings. So he's aware of certain things. And when he sees his mother, he realized that, okay, there is something going on here. And her mother, Miriam, tells him, well, the conception took place when we were in Egypt. And so I'm not that far away to deliver the baby.
Oh my gosh.
So he will have either
His
a
own
little sister or a little brother. We will see what happens, okay? And it is coming so quick, in fact, that Miriam doesn't even have the time to go to the bedside where they normally do all
she's
the
gonna have to have the baby there.
deliveries. Yeah, so they're gonna have to have the baby at home. And one day Yeshua comes back from the countryside and he's all excited, and he finds the door closed, And one of the lady in the village tells him, hey, go and play somewhere else. Your mother is busy.
Oh, just like that.
And, he realized, of course, that he
Right.
knows what's going on. I mean,
Right.
and his father takes him apart and tells him, well, Yeshua, you're going to have a little brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his name is Judas.
Oh.
Judas, yeah. So Yeshua at that point has a little a moment of silence, and he said, Judas, yes, that is good.
Huh.
That is good.
Do you think it's Judas? Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Could be.
Huh.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But again, the
That would be
Judas as
something.
painted by the scripture is not the Judas that we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's not so evil.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So Yeshua is actually thinking about that, and he sees the baby growing and everything, and he's very happy about having a little brother. I mean, for him, it's really something marvelous. But there is always in the back of his mind that name of Judas
Oh.
that resonates in a certain way, But anyway,
Right.
that's the way it is.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes later on. Yeah. I don't want to go too far, go too fast. Yeah. And finally, having a little brother now, Yeshua is more accepted by the other kids in the village. They know, okay, this is a family. He's here to stay.
Right.
The family is growing and everything. So he meets other children, and some of the names I'm going to give them to you. Some of his friends are Jacob, Eli, I guess you would call him, right? Levi. We talked about Simon, and there are also a few girls, and we'll go back to those girls, because in those times, boys and girls, even young, never play together.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like two separate worlds that connect at one point during the wedding.
Oh.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yes, that's the way it goes. I mean, this is the Jewish tradition.
That
right?
was the time.
Yeah.
That was the time.
So, and Yeshua has a problem with that, but we will talk about it again. I just wanted to go back to the boys, So one day, Yeshua is in charge of tending to a flock of sheep, He's responsible for about 25 sheep in the countryside. His father told him, you have to take care of them, and when the dusk comes, you have to bring them back into the barn, right? And all the other kids, Simon, Eli, Levi, and Jacob, and many others, are coming to him one day, and they say, oh, we found some salamanders in a nearby brooks, and we would like to play, why don't you come, And Yeshua says, oh, no, I can't. I have to take care, and I am responsible for those animals, I have to take care of them. And so everybody's a little bit...
They're upset he's not going to join in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're a little bit disappointed, but Eli tries to convince him and says, he tells him, your father is away. Why don't you come with us? And then later on we will help you collect the sheep, right?
Let's
Even
hope.
though they may
Yeah.
spread in the mountain and everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And so he's really insisting, and he's putting in front of Yeshua a bunch of lies, and showing him how to basically go around and circumvent his responsibilities. His father told him, "You're responsible for the flock of sheep,"
Right.
And Eli is telling him, "Okay, you know what? You're a dummy. You should come with us." And
Not a very good influence,
yeah,
is Eli.
Exactly, and forget about those sheep. We'll help you later.
Yeah.
Pick them up.
Typical kids.
Yeah, and at the end, Yeshua doesn't buy the plot, the trap, and stays adamant about tending the flock of sheep
Oh.
and staying with the animals. And so all the kids leave, and they go and do their whatever they had to do with a salamander hunt, whatever.
Right.
But this stuff is very interesting for Yeshua because he realized that Eli taught him something interesting. He realized that the dark and the lies are also part of the divine. Right? Because when he was in Egypt, they always told him about, the good and evil, but they were never really giving him true examples. But for the first time in his life, he is confronted, he's facing a person who is telling him lies,
Right.
and telling him to do things in a wicked way.
Okay. Yeah.
But so he's not angry after Eli because he realized that this is also part of his teaching and part of the divine. It's the other side of being truthful and being honest.
Right. He's offering him the contrast.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
kind of like not being mad at somebody.
Exactly.
Right. You just got like, oh, okay, I know what that was about. Yeah.
So
right?
for him, it's a big realization, learning about the contrast and realizing that both sides, both polarities are part of God.
Right.
Yeah. So another time he plays hopscotch with the girls.
I love playing
Yeah.
hopscotch. That was my favorite thing to do.
That's something that no boys would ever do, no? But so he's playing with, again, some names: Rebecca, Bethsabe, Miriam, and Martha. The Miriam we're talking about is the young girl who will become later on the wife of Simon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
So, yeah. See? It's a whole...
Lots of Miriams, though, to keep track of.
Yes, yeah. And so, again, as I was telling you, Yeshua does not understand why boys cannot play with girls. And he's not accepting that limitation imposed by the Jewish traditions. And so maybe as a provocation, as an example, because his whole life is basically provocation and trying to change things, try to bring a new paradigm.
Right.
So he plays with boys, but he also plays with girls. There is no difference.
Does he get any kind of trouble? Or doesn't
No.
do they tell him he can't?
No.
Okay.
Apparently he doesn't get into any trouble.
Okay.
And so the seasons are passing, and little brother Judas is growing. And so that's about it for this fourth installment, on our videos.
So quick. So what are we going to look forward to next?
So the next installment, number 5, will be very interesting and absolutely pivotal in the life of Yeshua, because we're going to talk about his second encounter with the Elohim, the extraterrestrial.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Something really interesting. And then there will be the first time he's able to do some miracles.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So we hope you enjoyed this quick story of
It's a quick
the
little
life of
segment
Yeshua.
here.
Yeah.
But we're so happy you joined us, and please like and subscribe, and we'll see you for our 5th edition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.